Thank you very much, Raluca. Congrats for the event. What better time to talk about AI than today? I'm really honored to be here. It's a great time for AI. I want to set the ground for what it is, probably one of the most interesting discussions today in business, but not just in business, but also in our applied, kind of like our daily lives. So today AI has passed the level of hype. It's not just a hype word, it's a board discussion. It's an active technology that does a lot of great things. In our ventures, for example, at Lumen, with AI, we made blind people walk. With AI at Rayscape, we detect cancer in less than 45 seconds. At Modex, we use AI for ticketing at FIFA. So these are technologies that are already invisible behind the scenes, achieving great results. And that is thanks to a lot of great developers, a lot of crazy people that want to have this technology used properly. But more than that, this is a shift of paradigm. Think about this. 90% of the world's data was produced in the last 24 months. Out of that, only 1% is being used and interpreted properly. So the room for AI growth it's insane. And we should not be scared of that. We should have some things to think about for sure. We should have a regulatory framework around that. But what's better than a great AI tool, an expert using an AI tool? So instead of kind of like pushing back on the adoption, we should really embrace it and try to see how we can use it in our daily lives. Happy to be on stage today with a great panel of speakers that I would like to invite to join us on stage and start a proper panel. We want it to be an interactive panel. We want you to contribute to that. And we want you to challenge us. So I'll invite my colleagues to join on stage. First part, I'd like to have a round of intro from all of you. I'd like to invite you to say a bit of an intro and to introduce yourselves, to talk about your passions, and then we can go through the questions. Please.
Wow, even passions. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is ANDRADA MORAR. As you can see, I'm here representing UiPath. I joined the company a bit over 2 years ago, and I currently focus on customer experience and global partners. Passion, since it was an unexpected question, I guess like just everything wellness related and everything related to my 3-year-old daughter.
Hello, my name is ADRIAN Gociu. I am a lawyer in Romania. I have 2 offices in Timișoara and in Bucharest. And also I have an office in Dubai, UAE. My main specialty is I am a litigator in general, and my main specialty is intellectual property and corporate law. Regarding AI, I have a lot of experience with the intellectual property part of AI because I've been at a lot of conferences on this theme. So I hope I can contribute to this discussion.
Hello, my name is MARIAN ANGHELACHE. I'm head of technology of Global Vision. We recently launched an AI platform called Ahead. Why Ahead? Because we think that technology will be ahead of all industries, and of course AI should be ahead of that technology. My main background in this is in software technology, and basically what I'm passionate about, not only AI, but also cutting-edge technology, edge AI, and also industrial and, let's say, machine learning algorithms. And I hope I can bring my expertise here and have a valuable feedback.
Hello, everyone. My name is CONSTANTIN GORGAN. This is the second time I'm here, so thanks again for inviting me. I didn't prepare, honestly. I'll just keep it natural as much as possible. So what I can tell you about me, which is it appears to be the most interesting aspect. I built a couple companies that reached millions in valuation before I reached the age of 30. So yeah, I don't know exactly what I did, but it was definitely something good. All right, so I'm here to talk about software development, cutting-edge technologies, AI. I founded CG Tech Labs, which is one of the fastest growing software consultancies in Europe, which is obviously focused on AI lately. And Giles AI, which is a product spin-off of our activities at CG Tech Labs that is now valued at $30-something million. And it's a healthcare-focused AI. So my colleagues always tell me, don't say that, but I'm going to say it. It's like ChatGPT for medical, but with more tools that you can use to make your research, for example, more efficient. Drug development should probably be done in half the time if you use what we offer at Giles AI. So yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Andrada, we'll start with you. So you're representing one of the most successful companies in the world, a leading player in AI. Just want to know, how is UiPath planning to reshape or actually reshaping the digital ecosystem of enterprise today?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. We heard at the beginning of the day how so much investment was made and is still being made in AI. We see that both from an investment standpoint, but also on the enterprise side. With an unfortunate statistic that actually 95% of them are failing. And the reason for that, as we look at our own journey from RPA to agentic, is actually pretty simple. A lot of the companies are focused on the sexier part of AI that just means yet another chatbot that truly will not give you a huge impact, especially in an enterprise role. So for us at UiPath, we started with RPA, robotic process automation, and we truly believe that continues to be the healthiest foundation for agentic AI. Because think about it this way, what RPA does really, really good is more the rule-based automation. You tell a robot to go from A to B, the robot will just do A to B. You tell AI to go from A to B, it might go from A to B, but not taking the route that we all might want to take. So I think like for us, when we evolved our vision of emulating and augmenting humans, we truly look at agentic as an awesome opportunity to reimagine the way work is done. Not just like with RPA to just do parts of the work, but to truly reimagine business processes end to end. And that's where we actually see our own customers being truly successful, not focusing just on a task or a sexy part of a process, but really having the courage to take on really hard problems that they have in an enterprise, like truly hard challenges that they did not dare to touch before because the technology was not there. Those are the customers that we actually see in the 5% where they're successful because of the way they approach it, because they have the CEO support, because they look at using RPA where RPA is best, using AI where AI is best, and also using humans where humans are the best, and all under a system that operates under clear governance and auditable tracks.
Great, great answer. I have a lot of other questions on this subject, but we'll continue. So Adrian, you know, a lot of people are really pushing the idea of regulation around AI. How prepared are the global legal frameworks for AI? And are we really using limitations and regulations to stop innovation, or we can actually have a common ground where we can build something?
So in this moment, the legal framework is behind the AI, of course. And we have two main directions of lawmakers, is the European Union and the US, and the China is emulating more and more the European Union's style. So in the European Union, we are trying to regulate more and to establish exactly what will happen in each step. Meantime, in the US legal framework, they are talking about the fair use and the common law style. So these are differences which are impacting, of course, the way AI is regulated and how do we think about AI in these jurisdictions. So here in the United States, we don't have much common law cases which are finished to see about liability, how the liability will impact AI, and that's why a lot of funds have a reserve to invest in AI-made products or software, because in this moment, and I have spoken with the tech guy from Silicon Valley last week, he told me that lately you cannot track anymore the code that is AI generated. So the AI became, that's what he said. I am not a tech guy. So,
I can confirm.
He's probably not using UiPath.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's using, but he told me that it's very, very difficult, almost impossible to track AI from the code, from the output of the code. So I believe that here, legally speaking, are not only problems about how do we regulate AI, it's about also how do we prove the existence of AI, because in this moment we know, in general, we know that mostly the AI is built on copyrighted data. And of course, we know that in general, the output will not infringe copyright anymore, but there are some cases. So it's of course, mainly, I believe personally that the main problem, it's not about regulating, because we know that there was a case with Anthropic. They have a settlement now for 1.5 billion. So that's fraud from the data they had used, and that could be proved, but in general it's very hard to prove.
Let me give you a very concrete example. You know what, at Lumen, we are navigating blind people around town. So the AI tells you that you're in a safe zone to walk. What if you're not? What if a car hits you? Whose fault is it? Or at Rayscape, we have 99.8% prediction on identifying in CT scans cancer cells. But what if it's not the right result? You know, who's the end liable for the results of AI?
It's a very good question, and in all the conferences I've been, everybody was talking about liability from the use of AI. Of course, it's too early in this moment to establish exactly who will be liable. Maybe not in this moment, but in a few years, because a lot of things will change legally, and also here in the US with the common law. So in this moment, I believe that the end user is first one liable, but of course, the AI programs all has a lot of disclaimers about the use, and the end user is the main responsible or liable. But I believe that will be a change there because of the importance of the business, or the amount of money that are going, big amount of money that are going to the AI companies. And if they will have no limit or liabilities, I believe that, and also it's very important to say here in the US mainly, the insurances are starting to make the new rules, because they will establish how they will pay, for example, a car accident. So in that moment, we will know more about this.
That's a good question, a good answer. Unfortunately, we cannot give that to regulators yet. We cannot say we're not ready, so we had to write a lot of pages of disclaimers. But again, hopefully this will be regulated at some point. MARIAN, coming back to you, you've built a great platform, Ahead AI. How do you make a very traditional industry understand the values of what you're building?
Well, it's something that needs to evolve. So if last year we talked about prompt engineering and we said that AI seems to be like a novelty, to this year we talk about context engineering. So basically it's a new standard. Right now you are not prompting, you are not questioning the AI. The AI is doing the business for you, but you need to put the context in front of it. So basically it's a new dimension. You have the data, but the data doesn't mean anything if it's not curated and if it's not putting in the right context for that company. So this is why we built our platform. It's a contextual AI. It's a custom enterprise platform. So basically it's like, let's say, a gear shift between AI as a technology, and the pilot that is people. But of course, you can drive it if you don't know to put it in the right shift, right? And that right shift needs to be a context, right? Because when we deploy AI in certain environments, AI won't change the company itself. People will do, but people with the right context and with the right tools will make a transformation for that company.
Yeah, that's a good answer, but I would like you to be more precise. Like, we have people in the room that don't necessarily come from tech, and I want them to really understand what can they do with your software. Okay. How can you collaborate with them, and where is the real application?
Yeah, I didn't want to make like an advertising for our platform. So yeah, basically we are building custom AI agents for every industry. We are focusing in real estate, finance, and investment. Basically, because there is the heavy lifting, especially for the real estate environment, you are having a bunch of data silos that need to be curated and put it in context. So let's say for a real estate environment, you have a pipeline of projects, and you need to validate that project, and you need to know the data ownership of that land. You need to have some checklist if they have permitting, if that permitting is on that location, if that location has a risk of environment, of a climate, or if it has any due diligence issues there. So basically, we are putting all this issue in a context. We are making a checklist for the stakeholder. Just the stakeholder doesn't have to do the prompting. We are doing the agentic AI who is doing the heavy lifting for them, and they just need to decide, because this is the main part. The human decides what to do. They are in charge of and in control of this. It's important to have the right guardrails for this, otherwise it will hallucinate and you'll have bad decisions, right?
Great, thank you for that. Constantin, you're a European founder, just like some of us, most of us. We're talking about a real growth of interest in European AI companies. You've built companies before. Do you see any real difference between building a company in Europe or building one in Silicon Valley? Do you see, talking about bridges, do you see the big gap that was in traditional tech until this point where you had to be in Silicon Valley or New York? Can you build it out of Europe?
Yeah, so the biggest difference isn't talent or ideas. It's actually velocity and capital density. So if you go to Silicon Valley, you'll find people talking about startups and juggling millions at each coffee corner shop. In Europe, that's not the case. So usually, companies at the beginning of their journey, startups at the beginning of their journey, will find it harder to secure the necessary capital they need for, let's say, the start point until it actually gets some real traction. And what I've seen in Silicon Valley is that some companies reach Series A in 6 weeks. That's unheard of in Europe. So that's probably one of the main KPIs we need to take into account. I've done some research, and on average in Europe, the same round takes anywhere about between 8 to 12 months, right? So one of the most important things to note is that probably it's better to just use the starting starting environment that Europe offers, because there are some advantages like cheaper labor, and yeah, it's easier to find people that are talented and maybe scale after in the United States.
I think also to that point, because we've actually seen the shift as a company, especially in the last year, I would say. I think it depends on the type of company that you're starting, because if you are saying security, just giving an example, I do think that if you are a European company, you have greater chances to work with European organizations because of data sovereignty. And so I guess it depends a bit on the type of company. And sometimes speed is not the best thing.
Indeed, that's something that we do in Europe, and probably we should rethink this strategy. We first regulate, and then we try to innovate, while the United States and Asian countries, especially China, they first innovate without thinking about any consequences, to put it frankly, and then they start regulating once they see issues in production, when it's actually applied on something. So this helps them get to a point where they get that upper advantage way faster than we do in Europe.
That's a good slide to the next question for Adrian, because we have investors in the room, we have investors looking at a lot of AI companies, and a lot of good ideas are too good to be true. They sound fantastic, but when you end up actually implementing them and raise money from investors, you realize that it's not feasible because you don't have a regulatory framework, or because what you're building is actually qualified as a medical device, or it's qualified as a type of insurance. So how do we build a regulatory framework that allows investors to feel safe with their investments? What do you think, Adrian?
So the legal framework is behind, so we know that. For every company or every investor, it's very important to make a very good legal architecture of the company, and he has to know exactly what he will do and how he will do it. So I believe that it's very important to make a very good due diligence before any investment to be made, in order to establish the correct way in doing it, because of course in United States you have other problems than in Europe, and of course in China other problems in Europe, and if you are looking to the African countries, there are no rules basically there. So you have to everything is up on you basically. And upon you, you have to establish very good how you will do it. So for an international investor, it's very good to make easy-to-go company with the core of common rules. And after that, to make add-ons in different jurisdictions.
Thank you for that. Marian, an interesting question for you. Look, we have in front of us a lot of executives that are sitting on a ton of data in their companies. They're looking at general kind of like AI success stories like ChatGPT or some other ones, but they don't really see the bridge between what they have on their servers and what can they actually do with it. So how powerful do you think it's the localized AI or the localized training models on their current data sets? We spoke earlier about that, but I think a lot of people don't know how to move from big data to intelligent data. What do you think about that?
Yes, we have to take security as designer here. So basically, we need to focus on data privacy, because all the data, corporate data, enterprise data, will be trained on their models, if we are talking about foundational models. So this is why training your own AI model will be the best thing that you will do for the organization. I'm not sure if you know about the shadow AI phenomenon, right? So basically, all the employees or the shareholders are using AI, ChatGPTs, and all the other tools but they are using wrong because they're uploading corporate data inside those tools, those unauthorized uploads, right? And you have an NDA that you need to comply with having that data, and your employees are uploading so and so on data. And basically, the output that that AI tool is generating, it's not coming to you. It's coming to the employee, but that employee will need to fetch to another employee to enhance that data and so on. So this is why you need a centralized AI platform, enterprise. It's in your location. This is something that you need to spend a lot of time with your company shareholders and to explain why it needs to use that tool, because for sure they want faster tools, and for sure they see the impact. So the AI adoption, it's clearly. But we need the context, and we need also to empower those people to use the right tools and to have data privacy as designed for every action that they are doing, because at the end of the day, all those actions will help the company and will build that context that we are talking about. Without that context, we will have fragmented data that won't mean anything for the last decision makers, right? The last decision maker will have to use also, will have to ask those shareholders, okay, what you have done for this report, let's put it in another way, right? But while you have the context and you have the centralized AI platform, you can build this on top of what you are building with generative AI.
I will chime in because I actually think it's even more complex than that. If you look at enterprises, the data reality is pretty damning. Most of the big enterprises, especially the ones that are heavily regulated, their data lives everywhere. Some would be in the cloud, some would be like on-prem, some would actually just be unstructured data. If you think about like all the forms we fill still by hand, going to doctors, going to like public sector organizations. And if you think about like just training your own AI, it will probably use just part of that data. Right now with ChatGPT, Claude, you name it, mostly will use structured data. They are all struggling to work with unstructured on-prem data. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is if you are just focusing on building your own agent, you call it, but in most cases it's just a chatbot. There will always be a question for an organization, should I buy it or should I build it? A lot of organizations, like big organizations with big budgets, jumped to just build their own ChatGPT internal, and they realized that it's very hard to maintain, it's very costly, and again, it's incomplete. So that's where the conversation shifts between, can I actually use a layer, and I'm not here to just publicize what we are doing because we are not the only ones, but can I use a layer that actually brings it all together? One that's open, that allows me to use ChatGPT for one thing, Claude for another thing, my own model internally because I do not want to risk any data spillage. And also just making sure, again, like you know where the humans are involved, you know where the robots are involved. And that's where we actually, going back to the first point that I was making, that's where we actually see most of the success when it comes to enterprises, the ones that have like legacy system, hard to get data, hard to understand data.
We should talk about that. We just received Mission Impossible lately from our biggest client, which is FIFA. We're the main provider of technology for FIFA. And part of the things that we've done, besides the FIFA blockchain and all the other initiatives, we're also building a huge AI model for them because they have all the rights, they have all the videos, all the players. So, you know, we decided to build something internally, but using solutions like yours and using the existing plans. This is a massive challenge, but the outcome is quite interesting. We're building a lot of targeted outcomes that we want to have in the market. And again, we're looking at one of the biggest organizations in the world that sits on immense value and immense volume of data, but they've never used it properly. So I think it's quite interesting for all of us building in AI to just go and reach out to all of these large organizations and show them clear results, because most of the times we look like writers, like explaining something from pieces of paper, and we need to do a better job explaining the outcomes to those companies and explaining how they can actually benefit from that. And I think Founders don't do a good job on that. They just talk about general things. They just speak about general concepts. And clients are like, that's a nice to have, but it's actually not a nice to have. It's a must have. And I think we should all do a better job in explaining the end clients in any industry what they can do with the data. So, Constantin, back to you. What do you think are the key ingredients for a successful AI startup? We talk about valuations, we talk about sexy numbers, we talk about successful stories, but what is actually success? Because sometimes some founders are just pretty good in getting funding, but if you really look deep down, there's not much substance to it. Like, what are the ingredients? How would you identify as an investor and a founder, with your experience, a successful and substance startup?
Yeah, so only 2 words here to begin with. Scalable adoption. So this should be the core principle of every startup and probably every business, if not for every project, even from enterprise-grade companies. You need to make sure that you can facilitate this scalable adoption. How you do that? You start by creating a proof of concept, which you validate really quickly. You need to fail fast, that's the right term. That's the paradox. In order to have success, you need to fail fast multiple times. So try an idea, put it out there, see it in practice, how it is used, how the customers actually engage with it. They might like it, they might not. It might work or not. You need to make sure that you're capable of reiterating as quickly as possible and make it even easier for them to adopt and to determine if it's something useful for them. So what I want to mention here is that now getting back to the startup world, every investor has seen probably 100 pitch decks for AI startups with better LLMs, better technology, better whatever. The hard truth is that you need to prove traction. How do you do that? You iterate and fail fast with your clients so that you get to a point where the actual product you've built finds its market fit, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to challenge you here.
Okay.
On this one. You remember, like some weeks ago, Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, begged users not to use the word please when they instruct a prompt to ChatGPT, because that's costing them $200 million a year. So stop using please. Just give an instruction, because that is a massive cost. So, you know, you have the harsh reality in AI. If you become the victim of your own success, then you need to have sufficient funding to survive for years and years and years. Because here you're talking about the biggest electricity consumption in the world, the biggest data and edge computing consumption in the world. And how do you don't fall into that? You build a nice model, everybody's using it, but then you become the victim of your own success. The model is flawed. You cannot overcharge the clients. You have to raise and raise and raise billions and trillions. I mean, where does it end?
Well, yeah, I partially agree with you. But the thing is, I don't think the next wave of innovation comes solely from using more, let's say, compute power, right? That's one of the driving factors indeed, but it's not the only one. I think it's more about how you can get to the point where you understand your client good enough so you can solve its issues, right? It's not about the technology itself. I think it's more about using it in an applied way to actually resolve that, right? So I'm gonna give you an example. We initially started the Giles AI, which can be accessed at giles.app, by the way, if you're curious, from solving issues, productivity issues for companies. We quickly realized that it's not the right market fit. So we understood that all companies already use ChatGPT, perplexity, or whatever, right? So we had to find another issue that we can solve, an issue that other companies don't solve it yet. So what we've done is to partner up with Google, do a research in terms of how we can actually use our capabilities to resolve actual issues, right? And we realized that it's a big gap in healthcare. So for healthcare individuals, for people working in drug development, in clinical medical research, there wasn't a tool good enough to help them benefit of this AI breakthrough, of this technological breakthrough. So what we've done was to study, to partner up with another big research facility in the United Kingdom to actually understand their processes and reuse the same capabilities we had, but in another flavor. And this was the recipe for success in this situation. So just to summarize my answer, I know I talk a lot, but just to summarize it in a few words, I think the AI that wins isn't the smartest is the one that combines genuine scalability with frictionless adoption.
Great, great. ANDRADA, we're going to end it up with you. You're the giant in the room. You guys have done an incredible job in connecting all of these large enterprises. What have you seen as the major impact by working with all of these consulting firms or large corporations? How do you see, and what's the smile at the end of the discussion, you know, that your personal passion when you see agentic AI implemented properly in those corporations? You know, how do you see the shift in those companies? How do you see their new ways of doing business? What is the best outcome that you're noticing?
I will start by saying I'm pretty petite, but I understand I represent UiPath. So from the beginning, Daniel's vision for the company was to start a company that is open and trusted. And I think this is a vision that he brought with him through the 20 years since UiPath exists. So if you think about partnerships right now at UiPath and most of the companies out there, we have tech alliances and we have like what we call the GSI, the Global System Integrator, so the Accentures of the world, Deloitte, and so forth. At the very beginning of the company, RPA was mostly a horizontal solution. That just means for the non-techies in the room, a solution that can be used by everyone in the company. It doesn't have a specific use case. It's something that everyone can come ideas for how to use it and how to implement it. We've seen now with agentic that the world is truly shifting. Again, going back from like a task that each one of us could think for a robot to execute, in the agentic world is truly about the end-to-end processes. So you were just mentioning working with a healthcare organization in the UK. That's exactly what we've done when we were pivoting from RPA to agentic. Like at the beginning of the RPA, so like when Daniel started the company, he and the team, like 10 people in a Bucharest apartment, built a product, and Daniel, being as pragmatic as it is like, this is cool, but we don't know if it really works until we actually see it implemented. So he took like 3-4 engineers with him. He went to India, worked with a company to finalize the product. And that was the first moment when he said, oh my God, this is actually working. Then he was invited to Japan, where he again further developed the product in a different part of a different company. And again, like, oh my God, this is working. So when we shift to agentic, we had again a generational shift when we saw in the company, like we built the product and we had like an, oh my God, this is working moment, but we also realized that it's something that we would not be able to build on our own. So part of my customer experience role was to focus on our top 50 customers. Like this was the customers that invested the most in our company. They've been working with UiPath for a long time. So we went back to these customers and we bucketed them by industry and tried to tackle one difficult process at a time, where we again, like, we took a bunch of engineers with us, we took a bunch of like sales folks with us, we took even like product folks with us and sat in a room with people in a hospital environment, with people in financial services, with people in public sector, where we really dig deeper, us with the knowledge of the product, of agentic, and them bringing the process, the business process knowledge. The reason why I'm saying also from the beginning his vision was to build a company that's open, when you think about the tech alliances, this is something that we've been focusing again from day one. our company was always meant to provide choice, not compromise, and especially in a time like this where there are AI players popping up every single day, our companies come back to us, our customers come back to us because we offer that trusted environment where they can also experiment with a ChatGPT, Claude, or an absolutely new player because we already have the connectors built in. Last week, we were in Vegas for our biggest customer event, and we had folks from JPMC, CSL, which was a big pharma company. And one of the things that all of them said they appreciate about working with UiPath is, one, we've never been territorial. We've never claimed that we can do something much better than a hyperscaler or a new player. But what we've always done really, really well is integrating our own technologies in their business and helping them experiment, as I said. Like shifting from one day to the other, from one Claude model to a Gemini model just because they just launched a new version that was much better in a healthcare setting or in invoice processing or you name it. So that's something that we've brought along both with customers and also with partners. So with the Deloitte of the world, EY, Infosys, Cognizant, you name it, instead of going very broad with them, we leverage their industry knowledge as well, and we focus on the areas where we are either both strong, where we can build a very strong solution together and bring it to market, or we experiment completely. So with Capgemini, they were on stage as well with us. We use them as customer zero. So they are transforming their own HR operations at Capgemini, I think 300,000 employees globally, where we are transforming their HR operations. And by doing that internally at Capgemini, we will then go and transform other HR departments. So again, the customer zero approach is very important for us, both internal at UiPath, but also at the rest of the companies that we work with.
But Andrada, how many times clients can actually verbalize what they need from AI? And how wrong is if you don't know exactly what you want from AI?
We don't start with that conversation. We don't start with what would you like AI to do for you? Daniel will always say in a customer meeting, what's the most difficult problem you have to solve today? And then apply AI where AI is best, but we never actually look at just applying AI. We look at the process end to end, and we look at the players we have, robots, agents, humans.
And how many times you feel the tension from employees in those companies that they feel threatened by AI?
So we felt it even at UiPath, right? When we launched our agentic offering, Daniel was actually very straightforward with our employees about the opportunity he sees, and also being very loud that AI, in his perspective, and I wholeheartedly agree, is not here to replace humans. As long as we actually challenge ourselves, I, for example, do 4 different jobs at UiPath. I wouldn't have been able to do that even 2 years ago. But because I have so many AI-related tools, so many agentic processes, in marketing, for example, we agentified more or less our entire marketing department because we were in a transition period. In finance, we were always very strong with automation. We agentified our robots. I could go on, but it's again how we actually have skin in the game. This is an expression that Daniel loves. We dare to actually try and get immersed in the technology and see what works and what doesn't, because not everything works.
Great. So as we're preparing to end this, where are we in 5 years in this space? I want your very short brief, because we've been working closely with one of the largest payments companies in the world. They can predict with an accuracy of 93% today a divorce 9 months before it happens. So that's today. Where are we going with AI in the next years? And I want you to be very short on this.
I actually think it will become invisible. Today we talk a lot about AI, humans, AI versus humans. I think in 5 years we will not. I really hope for us that processes will be reinvented, reimagined, and we will all have happier jobs and lives overall.
I believe also that it will be silenced, because now it's a very big hype discussing about AI. It's quite new, the general use of AI, of course, and also the regulators doesn't know exactly how to regulate, how to, of course, because there are politics of, but even so, it's hard to regulate, and it's hard to apply the regulations on each legislation, and also to help or to bring other countries to regulate, because we know that are a lot of countries without any regulations and a lot of
So we'll still have lawyers in 5 years.
I am sure.
Okay, good.
Yes. No AI can replace a lawyer who is inventive and who knows how to think about a problem in many jurisdictions or a difficult problem. And the most of all, I believe that most of the clients or potential clients won't have the capability to prompt very good their problem, because lawyers in general are a little bit of translator of the problem of the client's problem to go into justice or a judge.
Good, thanks.
Well, I think personalized AI solution will be the key for the next years, because we all see that the generic AI solution won't give us relevant information. So this is the most important part. In order to be part of this process, you need to start, right? So this is the main strategy, to start implementing your own AI solutions in your organization. But of course, you need to also be attentive with the regulation, also with the compliance, right? Because you have to have trust in those decisions, right? If they have some context on top of them, or they are just hallucinated. I'm not sure if you heard about the Big Four company that had to pay the $500,000 because they hallucinated on a big financial report with something that they didn't happen. So basically, you have to be sure that all the generative AI that is coming from AI need to have some backgrounds, right? Something that will be a foundation from your own business, right? In order to have the right decision. Otherwise, you will have bad decision, and of course, you will lose also financial, right? Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, I'll do a small game. I'm gonna ask somebody from the audience, what was the last major technological breakthrough similar to what's happening right now with the adoption of artificial intelligence? So what do you think what was the last one that happened? Can someone... The internet? All right. I think we all agree with that, right? So think about how we lived our lives before internet and how we do it right now. We don't need maps on the paper. We're using Google Maps. We don't need, I don't know, to go to the shop to order groceries. We just place an order. I think this time it'll be orders of magnitude changed, speaking about our lives. Nobody actually knows what will happen in 5 years from now, because the evolution of this domain grows exponentially. But what I think it will happen is that AI will shift from being perceived as AI as a feature, but rather as AI as architecture, if I can say so. Meaning that we will think AI first. Take an example, what happened with the internet browsers, right? We all use, I don't know, Google Chrome, but now we're seeing AI first browsers. That's what's gonna happen in 5 years, at least what I think will happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all my panelists. Thank you very much for listening to us, and we hope to continue the good discussion during the break, and thank you very much.
Thank you.